Scarsdale, and I started my business, makes me sound so old, but 19 years ago. And I started off as a virtual assistant when I decided that I wanted to go traveling and I needed a way to fund my life online. So I basically packed everything up, booked a one-way ticket out of the UK. That was 19 years ago. And as soon as I got to my destination, I decided I didn't want to go back to the UK. So that's when the VA business really started. And I've lived in lots of different countries, and I've had 5 kids, and 4 of them were born in different countries. So I never stopped traveling, and I kind of lived my dream. And now I'm kind of settled in Egypt, which is where I am now. And I primarily teach people how to create online businesses, but I also provide the services in terms of web development, marketing, design, administration, all the back-end operations of an online business, really.
Amazing. That's amazing. And tell me more about, the kind of service that you offer for virtual assistants and freelancers in general.
Okay, so I primarily focus on online business operations. So it's digital businesses. So we primarily work on helping people to promote digital products, but we also build the whole operational back end, from the website to the membership site to running the operations to doing all the graphics and the marketing, the social media. And that's why, GoBrunch fits in so well with that model, because I teach people how to do this. So I teach people how to create online services businesses. I teach freelancers how to create their businesses and to get their skills out online. And you mentioned my business model, which is one sourcing, which I created kind of as an accumulation of all my years of working in the virtual assistant industry and kind of figuring out what was good, what was working, what wasn't working, and then kind of creating a guideline for how clients and virtual assistants can collaborate and work together, but from the perspective of both sides, because I've hired a lot of VAs, probably I lost count, around about 75 over the years. And I've had teams of 20 plus VAs working at the same time with me between ad hoc and full time. So I always had a really good understanding of the client's perspective and the hirer's perspective, but I'm also a virtual assistant, and I also, provided the services. So I had a good understanding from both sides, and then I created the business model. And now I use GoBrunch primarily as a virtual co-working space where I can basically invite these virtual assistants and remote workers and freelancers to come in and work with me and learn from me, and also kind of collaborate on various different things. And I also noticed as well, like over the years, like when you've been doing this, like I've been doing this since 2005, so it's 19 years, and I would say, since 2011, I've been teaching and working with VAs and training and coaching. So for me, it was like, I've been in a lot of situations where I produce a lot of content. I do a lot of webinars and events and, like collaborations and things like that. And over the years, you get to notice that you create so much content that you've got reams of pages of, landing pages and God knows what else, and courses and things. And I wanted to really condense that and also kind of have a routine and stick to a routine. And this virtual co-working space that I've built in GoBrunch has allowed me to do that. I'm on a regular schedule. It keeps me accountable. It keeps them accountable too. And I love how diverse GoBrunch is, how you can create all these different environments in these different rooms, because when you're coaching and teaching, that's also important. Zoom was great in COVID in particular, but it just doesn't hold people's attention the way, a well-designed GoBrunch room does. And like I said, I do daily accountability videos and sessions, and basically the replays of all the sessions go into an archive. So even if people are joining later down the line, they'll still have the archive of all the previous sessions. And I've wanted to try and get people involved. So we're doing it for our live launch in March. We're getting people involved in submitting their own co-talks. I call them co-talks, which is basically their own kind of webinars, and then everyone will have their own room. I've got different people who have submitted these pre-recorded sort of classes, and they will come in and do like a 30-minute Q&A. I'll give them a dedicated room for that.
How are you creating like this kind of culture or habit for them to join on, you know, during your working hours and schedule sessions?
Okay, so we get obviously like more regular people, and we get people who kind of just skulk around, and these people are kind of like all over the world. And sometimes the only way I know they've been in is because they've left some messages in the chat, you know, in some of the rooms. But basically I try to make the schedule as varied in times as I can. So I have things that range from the morning through to the afternoon, and I have specifically this daily accountability schedule where we do like a same sort of accountability practice every day, and I'm in the room every day and I encourage people to do it, and I post that out on YouTube every day. So having something that's generally good for people to do anyway, but having it on a consistency, it does kind of help people to kind of grow into the space and things like that. But also I will say as well, you know, I'm not like a, you know, like a big YouTuber or anything, like, you know, like in terms of a, you know, a vlogger, but I will say that since I've been doing the accountability sessions daily, my YouTube channel has definitely been growing more, and I do the YouTube channel, the accountability session videos, obviously in what I call my accountability room. And you know, I think it's nice to be able to have the room posted on YouTube and for people just to be able to see it, and it will pique people's curiosity. Because I will say from my own experience, you know, I have quite a large following, I guess, because I've been around for so long, but it's really kind of difficult to educate people on what GoBrunch is, because it's so sort of unique, I guess, as a concept. Everyone is so used to Zoom and traditional webinar software and things like that, and chat rooms, you know, and I think that, you know, the most important thing is to show people as much as possible what this actually looks like on the inside. So that's why I kind of publish it on YouTube. I really like just talking about how you like put together co-working rooms and things like that. I really like the idea of like giving and this is kind of helpful when you're trying to bring people in, but giving people spaces where, you know, they can do things and it's very, very clear. Otherwise I find sometimes people get a bit lost, like, what do we do? So that's why I have, like, when people want to ask a question, I have like the hot seat area, and people can jump in and out of there. If I want to go on like live camera or share a screen, I sometimes do like the presenting area, like you can see here. I added those in just to kind of demonstrate. But it's nice to have like an instructor chair sometimes, you know, if you want one person segmented out, or if I want to specifically, you know, if I've got like people collaborating with me on a GoBrunch, I'll have specific seats or circles set up, like the hot seat one, and I'll put people's names on, you know, like seating places, and it's like a viewing room of how to use the oils. Then there's a free monthly experience, then there's the team room where you can kind of work with your team and build. Then we have a consultation room and a classroom for other things that we offer. So I'm kind of in different spaces doing different things, and just kind of seeing what works and what doesn't. But I found like everything, like across all the different spaces and different experiences, everyone's been super kind of pleased with how it works and how it looks and things. So now I'm teaching doTERRA wellness advocates how to build doTERRA centers for their customers to help educate their people on essential oils, and many other things. I'm doing the show area, which is a pure marketing tool, it, you know, as it is. And then there's a virtual co-working space, which is a collaborative tool. There's so many things you can do with GoBrunch, like so many.
Another thing I think that you mentioned that you have, I know you said you had collaborative spaces, but also that there are spaces that other people can use. Do you do like a reservation system, or how does that work? Or do they just have their permanent rooms?
No, right now it's right. So when we do, when I do the launch, for example, and we're going to be using the co-working space for specifically for people to have their own rooms and stuff, I will clear the calendar from the normal regular stuff, and I will add in like, Martha's going to be in the networking room all week this week, and this is her dedicated room. So I'll communicate everything on the calendar. And
Okay.
if people want to, you know, like say to me, like, I want to do something in the Zen room this week and I need it for 2 days, I'll clear the calendar and I'll put them in for 2 days so everyone can see. And then also I have a weekly email newsletter that goes out, which people can kind of check out and see what's going on coming up in the week ahead. And then I also share that through all my social media channels, my groups and things like that. So I'm good at sort of communicating what's going on. And usually when I'm presenting or I'm doing something, I'll explain at the beginning of the webinar or the event or something that the hot seats are available. Sometimes I have 2 or 3 depending on how many people are going to be in. And then I'll say the hot seats are available. If somebody wants to come and ask a question, you know, you can go into the hot seat and talk to me live if they don't want to leave a comment. So we set that up specifically for live, you know, like people. And then other times I'll set up ones like that have people's names on, like name holders, like name holders when you seat a wedding or something like that. And then I will put people's names on the placeholders if I have designated seats for people. So I'll just tell them to come in the room and find your name and sit down there. I work with a lot of sort of personalities, TV people and stuff. That whole kind of like, oh, you know, like if you're softly, like I don't want to annoy people, I don't want to send people too much. Don't think about that. Like the more you can share with people, the more your community will grow. And I strongly stand by this thing that, you know, like not less is more in this respect, you know, really tell people about what's going on, what people are doing. And then eventually you'll just find that people are kind of like coming in and seeing what's going on. So these are my 2 spaces. So I have one on Facebook and one on LinkedIn, and you're more than welcome to join.
Perfect. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you very much for being here, answering our questions.